We have Varsha Varadarajan with us. She's casting director for Ullozhukku. It seems that's her first Malayalam film as casting director, but she has done quite a few films in Tamil. Let's see what she has for the audience. Welcome, Varsha.
Thank you for having me.
Ullozhukku is the talk of the town now since last Friday when it was released, and we were all with much expectation, but it's much more than the expectation as it is working out. Christo might have had his plan about Urvashi and Parvati, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's hear. Who all are the actors whom you had suggested, and how did you come up in the film?
It was really good because I came on board thanks to Hani Trahan and Abhishek Chobe. I had just worked in Killer Soup with them. And Hani Trahan, the producer of this, he's also a casting director, which means that he understands the importance of someone working on a film exclusively on casting. So I have to thank them for this opportunity in Malayalam. This movie had already been planned with Urvashi ma'am and Parvati. So when I came on board, we had a couple of the other characters in terms of the family to cast. It was really interesting because in most films we just see that we will take a bunch of actors who are good actors and we say, hey, this is the sister, this is the father, and we make a world around them. But in this film, when I read the script, I figured that we were going to be only seeing very few people. And it was really important that all of them sort of had to resemble each other. They had to look like a family. That was one of the key things because most of it was just close-ups and everything was interior. So if you have very different people in terms of features, it will jump after a point visually. We might not realize it as audience saying, hey, but it'll just be like, oh, something was not great. But if something is done right, we might not notice it, which is the best, acknowledgement to our work. But if something is off, that will be the first thing that people notice. And especially having someone like Urvashi ma'am and Parvati, we had to make sure, of course, they were really good actors, but we also had to put together a family that was believable. That was, I think, the most important part of this film.
And of course, you would have started from the script stage. How was the initial discussions happening?
I read the script and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. This is something that I absolutely enjoy because human drama for me is the best kind of films because all of us have a story to tell. And this is very relatable. All of us have instances with our own, we might not have exact scene comparisons, but we have emotion comparisons to this film, which is what I had when I read the film. So I absolutely loved it, and I said, "Hey, I'm coming down to Kochi. Let's see where this starts." And we just started. That's it.
So, were there any change from the initial casting that you had planned, and then further down the lane, people changed something like that?
This was supposed to be done a lot earlier, so they already had a bit of people in mind. Nobody was signed other than these two. But the rest of them completely, we were sure of when we were going to go on floors. So we were able to sort of speak to actors for this film in this timeline and get working. So we didn't have any changes after that. So, yeah.
Usually, as a casting director, you'll be part of auditions and further. But in Ullozhukku, most of the actors are prominent. In terms of, we are familiar with those actors. How did that happen? As in, were there any audition or?
Definitely. So, I think people really mistake what an audition is for on most days, especially experienced actors. It's not exactly a test of how good they are. We know they are good, which is why we approach them. But we just need to know if they sort of work in the director's line of vision. It's honestly not a acting test for people who've done a lot of work. It's mostly about, understanding whether they work for this kind of a role. Because there are certain emotions that they might have not played before. We want to check if that is possible. We want to understand whether they work for this particular film. We take similar scenes from the film usually to give as an audition thing, just to understand whether if somebody says a certain say line or just like if they're part of the scene, we need to know if they are able to convince themselves and us about it. It's very difficult to imagine that, yes, they're a good actor, they will do it. There are very few people that we can imagine in all sorts of roles. So it's mostly only for us to know, hey, do you think you can pull this scene off? It's just a validation. It is not on any terms of questioning an actor's ability. And even for newer actors, it is very important to also face the audition, because if usually during the audition the team is there, and in the final round there are directors, or at least the crew is there. It really helps to understand if everybody is okay with each other. Sometimes just, just to see if energy matches. And it's as simple as that. The audition can just be as simple as, hey, will this person look good in this costume? If they don't, they can be a great actor, but they might not fit my script. So it's never about just, testing how the actor is. It is a complete test to know whether they fit into this particular character for this film.
What were the challenges? As in, you have worked in Chennai, in Tamil films, but for a Malayalam film, for the first time you're working. So even though you are familiar with the actors and their capabilities, there will be many other challenges that might have come up as you are doing the casting, right?
Honestly, not as much, because I feel like things have opened up so much more. And we have been working with a lot of actors from the Malayalam industry in films and ads. And there are times that we just remote audition so many people and we might not even get to meet them. This film at least got us there, and we were able to do the auditions in person, and we were able to choose the actors. The challenge was, this was a live sound. So we just had to make sure, yes, so we had just had to make sure people with accents that were closest work. Challenge for me was I couldn't differentiate the accents and dialects. So for that, I needed help with the team there. And that was the only thing. Otherwise, it was just as easy as it is. In fact, the actors who came were fantastic for the audition. I feel bad that we could not use so many people who came in for the audition, because it's a very small script. Hopefully, working with them soon.
Are there any actors whom you suggested and you feel like, oh, this worked really well?
Hopefully, all of them, I could to say. But I genuinely feel that there were a couple of people who very quietly came up and told me, hey, the family looked like they actually belonged. And that was the biggest validation I needed. I don't want to particularly point out, but I think all of them have really, really put in a lot of effort to do this. I mean, if you look at someone like Prashant, the kind of physical work that he had to put in for this, we think it's very easy to just play a role like that, but it'll be physically very, very difficult. And just for all of them, I think I know that, when they know that you have someone like Urvashi ma'am and Parvati, there's already a bit of jitters. Even the most experienced of actors, they will have jitters when you have such a stellar cast around them. So, and the kind of conditions that they were shooting in, I'm so happy that everything just worked out great.
So true. Even I also found Prashant, and I also believe that, no, of course he is recognized, but in comparison to the big, because there is a huge shadow coming because of the
But that is
seasoned actors.
bound to happen. Like, see, you can't have so many flashlights at the same point, you know. It's difficult for every ingredient to be the best ingredient. Just one has to shine. So this one was not his, but definitely it just shows that he's such a good actor, and the kind of work that he's done physically also to do what he's done. I really hope that, you know, a lot more comes his way.
And the sister character, she also has a very strong dialogue to present in front of Alencia.
നിങ്ങൾ വളത്തിന്റെ ഗുണമായിരിക്കും ഇവിടെ കാണിക്കുന്നത്.
ഇനി ഈ വീട്ടിൽ എന്തൊക്കെ ഉണ്ട് ഞാൻ അറിയാൻ.
Such characters who are not that familiar with for the audience, of course they have acted, but relatively new faces. So how are their selections happening?
Smriti was audition. The person who played Urvishi's man's daughter, she was audition. She had a fantastic take, and I thought the faces looked very similar, so that worked out. The person who played Urvashi ma'am's sister was Veena Nair. She's actually an actor from Bombay. So I have worked with her in advertising earlier. Uh, I found again, it for me, the first criteria was to match her as the, you know, they needed to look somewhere similar, you know, a little bit of curls in their hair, just, you know, the bigger eyes. So just needed to match that. So when I sort of read the script, my first option was Veena, and I'm really glad that dates and logistics worked out to bring her down.
Quite true, and the way her presentations were also, as in the performance, was also very good. So interesting. And talking about Tamil and Malayalam, we cannot compare the industry. And of course, you have worked on many commercials. I forgot to mention that in the introduction. What difference is there, like Tamil film casting for that and Malayalam film? So if you could point out a few aspects.
I don't think particularly I'm going to say that there is a difference in terms of the process. I feel the process is the same. And I think talent is just there everywhere, which is fantastic. And I think it's not a very industry-based process. I feel like for every film, the process changes. I think it's just very, very relative to each film that we're doing. I think we have to be okay to adapt to the situation, to what the director wants, to what the producer can accommodate with the budgets. You know, it's very easy to just start off with names, but then if the producer says no, which is all, I think that is possibly a standard in all industries. Everybody wants a great actor, but so we just have to work out on what works for the script. I think it's definitely not based on the language. At least I personally would like to say language is not the differentiator in anything. We're all creating art. It goes beyond boundaries.
Very true, especially in the web series scenario. Like it's a mixed cast these days. Like we were watching Poacher the other day, and whatever is coming up new. And there was this Sweet Caram Coffee where people were there from entire South. So it's quite interesting that way. So how does your palette look like when you work on such casting, as in where there is mix of actors from different languages?
I'm absolutely excited. I'm absolutely excited because there's just so many undiscovered talents, and it's fantastic that we have projects that are able to, give them the opportunity to at least present themselves. Selection is the next step, but at least to present themselves. Maybe 10 years back, this wasn't entirely possible. Now it's great that we're able to remote audition, reach out to people from different places, depending on the role. So it's just fantastic to see the kind of people that we get to work with. And in terms of just different language actors, I feel it's all of us in our areas have people from all walks of life, all states. So I don't particularly think that, we have specific, uh, we're going towards specifically saying, hey, let's bring a person from this state for this. I think most scripts are just organically written to accommodate, people from other states, because we live in that kind of cosmopolitan society. And it's really nice to be able to do that.
In the last 5-6 years, probably the quality of movies have tremendously improved. Of course, we do not degrade any of the films which were made before, but everyone is conscious about the quality of performance, quality of what is giving on screen, audio, sound engineering, everything. So, how difficult, or is there a pressure on casting director, as in, when such things, as in there has to be a certain quality, or there has to be the best?
100%. 100%. More than what you see on screen in terms of people's performance, on set, they have to be good. Because you have it's very different in an audition that we would perform, but when there are 100 people on set with cameras and lights and everything, it can be a little daunting. And the pressure does show up on a few people. We've seen that. It kind of brings down the energy of the entire set. So I feel like the better the actors are, each of them vibe off each other, the takes just get better. The directors are happier if they don't have to micromanage every small thing with an actor, that they're happier that they don't need to put in thrice or 4 times the amount of effort that they need to, because the actors are also coming with a lot more training, with a lot more understanding of how cinema works. Earlier, if we were to cast a new person, they might not have the kind of knowledge that they have right now with the information that's available on how to sort of work on a set, what all to do. And that way, it also gives them a lot more in terms of their confidence to do a better job. I feel the information and the kind of content that's out there, in a way, it's also a lot thanks to the social media platforms, where people are able to sort of perform a little bit. So they have a little bit of, less fear of the camera, but definitely in a larger production, when it's like a film or a web series, it's a completely different game. But at least the confidence of a common man to face the camera now is definitely a lot more than earlier. That's for sure.
One thing which I've been thinking about, say, like, I don't know whether this comes under casting directors, say, like, people coming from multiple different industry, and there could be some language, help required in terms of presenting certain things. So, is that part of the casting director's responsibility?
Not entirely, it's mostly from the assistant direction team, right? Because if needed, there are language supervisors on board. It depends more. A lot of firms have language supervisors on board, and we are not on set every day. So we can't pick up, we do our best. We try getting them, if the firm allows, we try getting them lines earlier. Usually the assistant directors help. There's one person who will probably help them with their lines by sending them maybe even just voice notes, because a lot of people learn auditory, or they help them write it in the, in the way they want to write it. So help is available. We just have to find a way to give it to the actor.
Talking about the pressure sometime back, have there been any situation, like, there was any problem with the actors, like, it could be any, it's not like performance per se, it could be many other factors. So, were there any such situation that pressure was built up since you had to change any of the actors?
Yeah, quite a bit. Definitely availability is always, in case shoot dates change, that's something that, goes a little out of everyone's control. Availability, budgets, that is a concern. we might audition a little earlier for certain projects. Closer to the date, there are times where actors change their looks completely. That happened a lot during COVID times. People just looked very different, just 1 week before we check. Children especially, though, that is very, very tricky because they suddenly grow, they lose their teeth, small things that, we have to keep contingencies for.
Interesting. And what are the new projects that are coming up?
I have a couple of them in Tamil at this point, in various stages of production, pre-production, and post. Hopefully soon, a bunch this, yeah, hopefully a few releases this year, and definitely a lot more next year.
If you have a checklist for a casting director, what are the top five things that you?
A couple of things. One, we definitely look at the actor's physical presence. There are times where you need someone built, there are times that you don't need someone, so we have to cater to the physical requirement of the role. Then the language, are they able to learn the lines? Are they able to deliver what is required of them? Again, availability, definitely budgets. That is very easy to say, oh, it's all workable, but at the end, we have to be really cognizant of what has been given to us in terms of budgets for the actors. So we'll have to see if that also works, and how well they are able to receive instructions. I think there are some directors who are very instructive. There are some directors who just let the actors do how they go, and then they build on it. So we also have to see what the director expects of the actor and see whether the actor falls for what the director wants. They might be really good, but for a particular director, if the actor doesn't work, then it's a little difficult, because we don't want clashes on set. We don't want any unhappiness either from the actor side or from the director, either one calling us and saying, hey, I didn't have a great experience. Hopefully we bridge that gap.
Talking about the budget, are you also responsible for this negotiation?
Yes and no. It depends. It depends on the project for sure. Each project works differently. So there are times where we'll just be given an overall cast budget we have to figure, or there are times where they say, hey, let's look at it in terms of which actor we're going to bring on board, and then we can talk if we have to go up or down. So that's completely a production call. So we have to work with the production and the direction team to make sure both sides are happy. The actor is not shortchanged. That is something that I personally try making sure that, they're not shortchanged. And so hopefully everyone's happy at the end of the day.
Have you done any other roles, or are you interested in doing any, say, like writing or directing?
So I started off as a DOP's assistant, and then I was an AD for over 10 years. So yes, I have my film background in place, and which is how I also work on casting. I look at it as an entire film and not just in terms of character. At this point, I think I have my hands full. I will talk about this in a few years.
And how easy or difficult is it to do casting and even direction part for a commercial as compared to a movie?
Honestly, I feel movies are easier sometimes, though the volume is much higher. The commercials require very, very specific casting. And because it's only 30 seconds, right? And they don't have the luxury of shooting for a very long time. They'll mostly be done within like a day or two. You don't have ad shoots that pan over longer unless it's a really big campaign. So, and the number of people who have to approve an actor in a film is just far lesser. It's usually just the director, not very rarely will a producer have a say in it. Well, I mean, it again depends on the sort of the equation between the director and the producer. It's not even us. But for an advertising project, we have the director, we have the agency, we have the clients. All of them have to be satisfied with that one person coming in for 30 seconds because they represent their brand. So the brand, because there are so many people involved, I think advertising is a little trickier. With film, because it's a little more interpretive and we have a little more time. Though the volume, like we'll have to be casting, like say, I'm doing a project right now where I have a cast of 350 actors. I still think I would take that over 10 actors for a commercial. Yeah.
Again, it's quite insightful. Any of the recent films that you found the casting is very, wonderful?
Actually, almost every film that I watch. So it's been great. It's every time there's someone new, there's someone who comes and really steals the show. And it's fantastic. It's not just in Malayalam. Throughout the country, we're seeing regional films that are so good. It's great because you actually have unexplored talent in all places. And it's fantastic to sort of see first timers to perform in, really great roles. So hopefully regional cinema gets bigger and better. So
Then Tamil and Malayalam, have you worked on any other?
I've done a project called Killer Soup, which is one of the producers of Ullozhukku, Abhishek Chobe. He's directed it. It's on Netflix. And I am doing another Hindi film now. And there's a pre-production happening for a Telugu film.
Wow. At the same time, multiple things are happening, and that too, you have to be very attentive because these are, very minute things that needs to be taken care of, right?
I love anything that has to do with people. I love learning about the cultures. I love learning about how, how they dress, how they talk, what kind of food. I also try getting as much information as I can on how their evolution has been like, just to understand how faces work, and I enjoy the process. So I enjoy reading a lot. So this really helps me with my research. And I really like meeting people so yeah, I'm happy to do different language work. It's absolutely fulfilling.
You hinted a bit on the evolution of Varsha from DOP's assistant to casting director, but could you please elaborate on?
No, I was an AD for I think the longest time. His assistant was just 2 years. I started. So then there was a time. This was when I was doing when I was assisting directors in commercials here. So I started sort of casting for the commercials that I was I was working on, and that's how most ads or films got made. The ADs sort of start the casting process. And so I just started eventually getting credits for the work that I was doing just on the projects that I was doing. And just happened from there. That's it. And I realized that I really enjoy this process. And this way I can do a lot more projects at the same time. So I think it was just one of those things where projects sort of just happened. I didn't particularly know where I was headed, but I don't think I would change this journey.
Going back to Ullozhukku, just one more thing. As in, did anyone from the crew, give a pat on you on things worked for the casting?
I really wanted validation mostly from Hani Chauhan, because he is one of the best casting directors. Just looking at his work over the years has been fantastic. So I was so scared I should not disappoint him. That's it. I had very low expectations set for myself. So I said, As long as I don't disappoint him, I'll take it as a win. But he told me that he really liked what I did, so I'm happy.
I think the entire audience is really enjoying the sense that they are taking the emotions to the
Absolutely.
heart.
Absolutely, yeah. And we are so even theaters in Chennai, it's pretty much the same response, and I hear everywhere else it's been the same response. Only because all of us feel the same emotion. We might not say the same lines or speak the same language, but all of us have the same interpersonal relationships and the same kind of emotions. So this film sort of really does resonate with all of us.
Wonderful. It was really enriching, enlightening listening to you, and hope we'll connect once again
Absolutely.
immediately once your projects in process are are done. Thank you so much for your time. Wish you all the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you.